The great hall of Concord Station was built to impress species that measured power in size. The ceiling arched so high that small shuttlecraft could have floated through it. Hanging gardens drifted in controlled air currents between glowing light bands, and transparent walls revealed slow rivers of stars beyond. Delegates from 100 worlds filled the chamber with color, scent, and sound. Near the outer edge of the gathering stood Elias Ward, trying very hard not to look like someone who had no idea why he was there. He was human, average height, average build, brown hair that never stayed flat no matter how much he smoothed it down. His job title was Junior Diplomatic Logistics Aide, which meant he carried data slates, ran messages, and fixed small problems before important beings noticed them. He wore a simple dark uniform with a small Earth emblem on the collar. Compared to the jeweled robes, shimmering skins, and bioluminescent patterns around him, he looked like he had come to clean the place. He checked his slate again. Seating changes, beverage requests. Atmospheric adjustments for 3 different species in the West Wing. Normal chaos for a high-level summit. "Don't stare," muttered Senior Envoy Maris over the comm in his ear. "And don't touch anything that looks alive, sacred, or expensive." "That narrows it down to the floor," Elias murmured back.
Elias. Right, professional.
Quiet. Floor only. Across the hall, a soft ripple moved through the crowd. Conversations lowered. Several species stepped aside at once. Elias looked up despite the warning. The Veilani Queen had entered. She was taller than any human by half again, her posture long and elegant. Her skin shimmered in deep shades of blue and silver that shifted like moonlight on water. A crest of delicate, fin-like structures framed her head, catching the light, and behind her flowed a long, powerful tail, patterned with luminous markings that pulsed slowly like a calm heartbeat. Veilani were respected, wealthy, and very old as a civilization. Humans had only joined the interstellar community a short time ago. Elias had seen images of the Queen before, but images did not carry the same weight as her presence in motion. Every step was smooth and controlled, each gesture measured. "She moves like gravity likes her best," he whispered without thinking. "What?" Maris asked. "Nothing. Just observing the floor. Very floor-like." The Queen advanced with her honor guard, tall, armored Veilani with crests lowered in alert focus. Other dignitaries inclined their heads or shifted colors in greeting. Elias noticed how much empty space surrounded her. No one walked close. Not even allies. He returned to his slate and tried to ignore the tightening in his chest that came from being in a room where one wrong step could cause an interstellar incident. The tremor, when it came, was small. At first, a faint shudder passed through the deck under Elias's boots. Several species paused mid-sentence. The hanging gardens swayed a little harder than the programmed air currents should allow. "Station control reports minor structural fluctuation," Maris said quickly in Elias's ear.
"Probably a docking clamp misfire. Stay calm." "Copy," Elias said.
Then came the sound. A sharp metallic crack echoed from high above, followed by a grinding shriek that set Elias's teeth on edge. He looked up just in time to see a lighting rig. Long, heavy, lined with bright panels, tilt at a dangerous angle. People screamed in a dozen different ways. Some froze, some bolted. The rig tore free. It fell directly toward the center of the hall. Toward the Queen. Elias did not think. There was no time to think. He saw the angle, saw the guards turning, too slow, saw the Queen beginning to pivot, her long tail still extended behind her in mid-step. He ran. Later, he would not remember crossing the distance. One moment he was near the wall, the next he was throwing himself forward with every bit of strength he had. "Whoo!" he shouted, though he did not know if she understood the word. He hit the Queen's lower side just as the rig crashed down. Elias twisted as they fell, turning his back to the impact. Something slammed into his shoulder and back, hard enough to drive the air from his lungs. Pain flared, bright and hot. He curled around the queen's lower body and tail, arms locked tight, trying to make himself bigger, thicker, something between her and the rain of debris. Glass-like shards and metal fragments bounced off him and the floor. The sound was like a storm of knives. Then it stopped. For a moment there was only ringing in his ears, and the distant hiss of emergency systems activating. Elias lay half on his side, half on his stomach, breath coming in shallow gasps. His back throbbed. His arm felt numb. Under him, something warm and smooth shifted. He opened his eyes. He was wrapped around the queen's tail. His brain supplied this information with the same tone it might use for you left the oven on. "Oh no," he wheezed. A wall of armored Velani surrounded them in less than a second. Weapons, sleek, curved things that hummed with contained energy, pointed directly at his head. Elias raised one shaky hand. "Hi," he croaked. "Don't panic. I'm already regretting this." The queen made a low, musical sound Elias had never heard before. The guards froze. Slowly, carefully, she shifted under him. He realized he was still pressing her tail protectively to the floor with his body. He scrambled backward at once, ignoring the protest from his bruised muscles, and sat up with his hands visible. "I am so sorry. Something fell."
I just reacted.
"I didn't mean to grab a royal..." A long dent marred the floor where the rig had struck. Shattered light panels lay scattered around them. A few pieces of debris rested on Elias's back, having failed to break through his body instead. The hall was silent. Hundreds of eyes, compound, faceted, glowing, lidless, were fixed on the scene. One of the guards hissed sharply. Another took a step forward, weapon angling closer to Elias's face. The queen lifted one slender hand. Every guard stopped instantly. She looked down at Elias. Up close, her eyes were deep violet, with patterns in them like distant galaxies. "You placed yourself," she said slowly, her translator rendering the words in calm tones, "between falling destruction and my unguarded form." "Yes, Your Majesty. Sorry." Instinct! A murmur rippled through the hall at the translator's interpretation. The queen's tail moved behind her, coiling slightly. Several Velani attendants made soft, distressed sounds. "Are you damaged?" she asked him. "Mostly just my pride. And maybe my shoulder. But I've had worse days."
He gave a weak grin, then thought that might be inappropriate and stopped.
She studied him for a long moment. Then she turned her gaze to the shattered rig above. Her crest lowered slightly in what looked like thought. "To strike at me in open council," she said quietly, "would be a declaration of war." Elias blinked. "Wait, what? I thought it was a loose bolt." Security drones were already scanning the ceiling. Station officials rushed in from side doors, faces pale. One of the queen's advisors leaned close and whispered urgently in her own language. Her tail twitched once. She looked back at Elias. "This human acted in defense of the crown," she said. Her voice now amplified gently through the hall. "He is not to be harmed." Every weapon lowered. Elias let out a breath he had not known he was holding. Then she added, "He will remain near me." Silence hit the hall like a physical force. Elias blinked again. "I'm sorry, what?" Envoy Maris's voice exploded in his ear. "Do not argue. Do not argue. Just nod. Smile if you can do so without looking unhinged." Elias nodded. He attempted a smile. It felt unhinged. The queen extended a hand toward him, not down as if to a lesser being, but forward, level. After a confused second, Elias realized she was helping him up. He took her hand carefully and stood, trying not to wince. Up close, he could see fine lines of light moving under her skin, along her arm, pulsing in slow patterns.
Medical, she said to one of her attendants, gesturing to Elias's shoulder.
It's really okay, he began. The attendant produced a small device and passed it over his back.
It hummed softly, easing the worst of the pain.
You are fragile, the queen observed.
Comparatively, yes, Elias agreed. We're working on it. Several nearby species made confused noises at his tone. The queen's gaze did not leave him. You did not calculate your survival chance before moving.
No, ma'am. You did not know my political value. Nope. You did not know our physical tolerances. Still don't, he admitted.
Yet you acted. Elias shrugged with his good shoulder.
Where I'm from, if something big is about to fall on someone, you don't stop to do math. A strange quiet fell over the nearest listeners as the translator spread his words. The queen turned slightly, addressing the hall. Take note. The newest species among us throws its body against danger before it understands the cost. Elias leaned toward Maris's direction and whispered, Am I in trouble or getting a medal? Yes, Maris said faintly. The queen began to walk again toward her place of honor. After 2 steps, she paused and looked back at Elias. He froze. Remain, she said. He looked at the empty space beside her, then at the crowd, then back at her. Here? Her crest lifted a fraction. Here! So Elias Ward, junior logistics aide, fell into step just behind and to the side of the Velani queen, under the gaze of half the known galaxy, with debris dust still on his uniform and absolutely no idea what he had just done to interstellar politics. Behind them, drones lifted the broken lighting rig away. Security teams whispered urgently. Delegates recorded everything. And everywhere they walked, a careful space opened, wide enough for a queen, her guard, and the human who had, by pure accident, decided that a falling piece of metal did not get to touch her tail. Life did not return to normal for Elias Ward. By the next station cycle, he no longer had a desk in the human diplomatic office. He no longer carried supply slates between meeting rooms. Instead, he stood 3 steps to the right and half a step behind Queen Felira of the Velani while the most powerful beings in the sector argued about trade routes and military borders. He still did not understand how this counted as a job. Stand straight, Envoy Maris whispered through his earpiece for the 10th time that hour. I am straight, Elias murmured without moving his lips. You look like you're waiting in line for coffee. I would like to be waiting in line for coffee. Ahead of them, the council chamber glowed in soft gold light. Floating translation fields shimmered between delegates. The queen stood perfectly still. Her long tail curved in a relaxed S shape behind her. Elias tried very hard not to look at the tail. The xenobiologist had explained things to him in a rushed, horrified whisper the night before. In Velani culture, she had said, pacing back and forth in a small briefing room, the tail is both a balance organ and a major sensory structure.
It is extremely vulnerable.
To touch it without permission is deeply personal. To shield it with your own body during danger is intimate, protective, and socially binding.
Binding how? Elias had asked.
She had stared at him.
Historically, that posture was taken by bonded lifeguards and, sometimes, by chosen mates among their ancient warrior castes. Elias had covered his face with both hands. I tackled an alien queen into an accidental engagement pose. Not engagement, she said quickly, then paused. Probably not. So now he stood beside her, hyper-aware of every movement. The Velani court had formed a quiet half-circle behind them, their glowing patterns shifting in ways he could not read. Across the chamber, a reptilian delegate from the Kresh Dominion clicked his jaw plates together in irritation. The Velani bring a predator servant into formal session now? The translator droned. Elias kept his eyes forward. The queen answered calmly. This human is under my protection and stands as proof of an attempted attack upon my person. He smells of fear. The crushed delegate said. Elias leaned slightly toward the queen and whispered, That might be the stress deodorant failing, Your Majesty.
Her crest twitched. A nearby Vailani made a small choking sound that might have been shock.
The meeting continued. Borders, mining rights, security patrols. Elias understood maybe one word in 5. His job, as explained to him that morning, was simple. Stay close. Watch everything. Trust your instincts. No pressure. Halfway through the session, Elias noticed something small. One of the overhead air vents along the curved wall was releasing a faint shimmer. Most species would not see it. The lighting was too bright, the movement too slight. But Elias had grown up in old orbital habitats where failing systems could kill people quietly. He had learned to watch air like other kids watched weather. The shimmer was wrong. He sniffed subtly. Nothing strong, just a faint sharpness. He leaned toward a Vailani attendant. Is that vent supposed to be active? The attendant blinked large silver eyes. Atmospheric balance is stable. I think it's not supposed to be that shiny, Elias said. The attendant hesitated, then signaled a tech. Before the tech could respond, the shimmer thickened. A thin, almost invisible cloud spilled downward, spreading fast. 3 delegates nearest the wall began to sway. Elias moved. He grabbed the queen's arm, not gently this time, and pulled hard. Back now. Guards tensed, but the queen did not resist. She stepped back with him as he steered her behind a thick support column. A second later, the cloud expanded across the area where she had been standing. Alarms shrieked. Environmental fields snapped on with a deep hum, sealing off sections of the chamber. Several species collapsed, their biologies more sensitive than human or Vailani. Security teams rushed in wearing sealed masks. The queen looked down at Elias. You detected this before my instruments. I grew up breathing recycled air from systems older than me, he said, heart pounding. You learn to notice when it tastes wrong. Tastes, she repeated, as if testing the concept. Medical drones swarmed the affected delegates. Station officials shouted over comms. Envoy Maris's voice came through, tight with fear. Elias, report. I'm fine, he said. Queen is fine. Air was not fine. You dragged a head of state behind a pillar.
Yes, ma'am.
A long pause. Good work. The queen stepped out once the area was declared safe. Her tail moved close to Elias's leg now. Not touching, but near. To strike twice in one cycle, she said softly. This is no accident. No, Elias agreed. Someone's trying to see if you're easy to remove. Her eyes focused on him. And you continue to interfere. Seems rude not to, he said. Later, in a secured chamber, Vailani advisors argued in quick musical tones. Holographic replays showed the vent releasing the gas. A maintenance worker's ID tag flashed on screen. Fake. The queen sat on a raised platform, Elias standing below and to the side. You should not remain so close, one advisor insisted. The human draws attention.
He is untrained. He is effective, the queen replied.
Elias raised a hand slightly. For the record, I would also enjoy being less effective if that means fewer assassination attempts. No one laughed. He was starting to suspect Vailani humor was very advanced or completely missing. A security officer turned to him. Human Nilia's ward. When the gas released, you did not flee.
Oh! I was already next to the person they were probably aiming for, he said.
Fleeing seemed like bad teamwork. Teamwork, the officer repeated. Pack behavior, the xenobiologist said from the side of the room. Humans evolved in cooperative groups. Protective reflex toward nearby individuals can override self-preservation. The room went quiet again. The Queen looked thoughtful. You endanger yourself for those not of your species, Elias shrugged.
Danger doesn't usually ask for your species ID first. One of the younger Veilani stared at him like he had just recited ancient wisdom instead of a tired joke. By the end of the cycle, Elias had a new escort of human and Veilani security following him when he left the Queen's side, which was rare.
His small station quarters were upgraded to a guarded suite closer to the Veilani wing. He stood in the doorway that night, staring at the larger room. I miss my tiny bunk, he muttered. A Veilani guard tilted his head. This space is superior. Yes, Elias said.
That's the problem. Now I'll get used to it.
The guard considered this, then nodded solemnly, as if this was a deep human tragedy. Sleep did not come easily. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw falling metal or drifting gas. On the next day, the Queen walked through a public transit corridor, connecting two station sectors. Delegates and civilians moved along the wide path, floating signs guiding traffic in multiple languages. Elias walked at her side, eyes moving constantly.
You scan like prey, she observed quietly.
Predators?
He corrected.
We evolved being hunted by things faster and stronger, so we learned to spot small signs before big trouble. What signs do you see now? Too many people pretending not to look at you, he said, and one guy ahead who is way too still. 20 meters ahead, a tall, insect-like being stood near a wall panel. Everyone else shifted, fidgeted, checked devices. That one did not move at all. Security? The Queen murmured. Maybe not. They got closer. Elias saw a faint line where a floor panel had been recently lifted. His stomach dropped. Stop! He said sharply. The Queen halted at once. Elias grabbed the nearest guard and yanked him back a step. Clear the area! The still figure twitched, then bolted. At the same instant, the floor section ahead gave way, dropping into a dark shaft where a transit car should have been. If they had taken 3 more steps, the Queen and half her guard would have fallen. Alarms blared. Security forces tackled the fleeing figure. Emergency barriers snapped over the hole. Elias stood there breathing hard, staring at the empty space where solid floor had been seconds earlier. The Queen looked at him with an expression no translator could fully carry. You see traps where others see paths, she said. Yeah, Elias said softly. Humans are very good at assuming something is about to go wrong. That is a heavy way to live. We make jokes about it, he said. Helps. She studied him a moment longer. Then her tail shifted closer again, almost brushing his boot before settling. Around them, officers swarmed, voices sharp with urgency. Word spread fast through the station networks. The human who had shielded the Queen from falling debris had now twice prevented her death again. Delegates who had dismissed humans as soft and new began to watch Elias with new calculation. Small, fragile, but always moving toward the danger, not away. And always, somehow, a second too early for the trap to close. By the 3rd cycle after the summit began, the station felt different. Security drones floated in thicker patterns near the ceilings. Armed patrols stood at every major junction. Delegates who had once moved freely now traveled with escorts and checked every doorway before entering. The air itself seemed tighter, like a storm waiting to break. Elias Ward stood at the edge of a private Veilani strategy chamber, trying not to fidget. Inside, Queen Thalira spoke with her senior advisors around a wide holographic display. Star systems turned slowly in the air above the table, marked with glowing lines of trade routes and defense zones. Elias understood almost none of the politics, but he recognized tension when he saw it. One of the advisors gestured to a red-marked sector.
The Kresh deny involvement, but their fleets are positioned within rapid strike distance. They position fleets near every border, another replied. It is their habit. They have never before risked open assault on Veilani royalty, the first said.
The Queen's gaze shifted briefly toward Elias.
And yet someone believed me easy to remove.
Ellis looked at the floor. He still felt strange being part of these conversations just by standing in the room.
A Veilani science minister turned toward him suddenly. Human Elias Ward. He straightened.
Yes? You claim your species evolved among predators? Yes. You read danger in small motions.
Sometimes, he said. Mostly we just get nervous a lot. Several Veilani blinked slowly, trying to decide if that was humor. The minister adjusted the star map, zooming into the station layout instead. If you wished to attack her radiance during transit, where would you strike next? Elias stared at the map. Corridors, lift shafts, maintenance tunnels, docking rings.
I'd avoid obvious places, he said slowly. After 2 failed tries, security will be watching main routes. I'd hit somewhere boring.
Somewhere people stop paying attention.
Define boring, the minister said. Maintenance sectors, Elias replied. Supply corridors.
Places with lots of equipment noise so a little extra doesn't stand out.
The Queen's crest dipped slightly. We transit to Dock Ring 7 next cycle for talks with the Hadron Combine. Elias pointed at a narrow path on the map.
That connector looks old, long, not many side exits.
If I wanted to isolate a target, that's where I'd try.
The room went quiet.
A security commander made a sharp gesture and sent orders through his wrist unit. The Queen regarded Elias. You think like those who hunt. More like those who get hunted and survive, he said. Later, as predicted, the Queen's procession moved toward Dock Ring 7. The corridor was exactly as Elias had feared. Long, curved, lined with old conduit pipes and maintenance panels. The lighting flickered slightly in one section, waiting for repairs that never seemed urgent enough. Veilani guards took point and rear positions. 2 human security officers walked a few steps behind Elias, who stayed near the Queen's side.
You are tense, she observed quietly. Very, he said.
Good. They had gone perhaps halfway when Elias heard it. Not loud, not clear, just wrong. A faint metallic tick, then a pause, then another tick, too regular to be random, too soft to be normal station noise. He slowed. Hold, he murmured. The lead guard stopped at once. What do you perceive? The Queen asked.
Something counting, Elias said. The security commander frowned.
Scanning. Elias moved closer to the wall, eyes tracing along the conduit lines. There, a maintenance panel that did not sit quite flush. One corner was a millimeter higher than the others. He pointed. That. A guard approached carefully with a scanner. His crest flared in alarm.
Explosive device confirmed! The commander barked orders. Guards formed a tighter circle around the Queen as a drone rolled forward to disarm the charge.
Before it reached the panel, a figure dropped from an overhead service hatch behind them. The attacker was tall, armored in matte black, species hard to identify under the gear. A weapon snapped up, aimed directly at the Queen's back. Elias did not think. He slammed into her side again, driving her forward and down as a bolt of bright energy flashed over where she had stood. Guards fired back. The corridor filled with light and sound. Elias dragged the Queen behind a thick support strut, heart pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. "Stay down!" he shouted. "I had planned to," she replied, calm even now. Another attacker burst from a side hatch ahead, trying to cut off the guards. Chaos erupted. Shouts, energy fire, drones deploying shields. Elias looked wildly around. The bomb. The attackers. This was meant to trap them between blast and crossfire.
"Bomb first!" he yelled. "If it goes off, this corridor becomes a coffin!"
The disarmed drone was still meters away. The device's ticking grew faster. Without waiting for permission, Elias sprinted low along the wall toward the panel.
"Elias!"
One of the human guards shouted. He reached the panel and yanked it open with bare hands. Inside sat a compact device, lights blinking in rapid sequence. He had no training in alien bombs, but he had fixed broken habitat heaters with tape and stubbornness. "Okay," he muttered.
"What looks important?"
He grabbed the thickest power conduit and ripped it free. The device sparked. The ticking turned into a high whine. "Bad sign," he said. He slammed his fist into the central unit, denting the casing. Something inside cracked. The lights flickered wildly, then went dark. Silence from the device. Behind him, the last attacker fell under combined guard fire, weapons skidding across the floor. Elias stayed crouched a moment longer, waiting for an explosion that did not come. "I think," he panted, "I just fixed it." A Veilani tech rushed forward, scanning the ruined device. "Detonation sequence interrupted. Core disabled."
Elias leaned back against the wall and laughed shakily.
"Never gonna complain about old station wiring again." The Queen approached, guards still tense around her. She looked from the destroyed bomb to Elias's scraped, bleeding knuckles. "You place your hands into unknown death machines," she said. "Only the small ones," he replied. Her tail curled once behind her, tight with emotion.
You are either very brave or very foolish. Usually both, he said.
News of the corridor attack spread even faster than the others. 3 attempts in so short a time could no longer be hidden as accidents. Political masks began to crack. Delegations demanded answers. Accusations flew in private chambers. In a secure observation lounge overlooking the stars, the Queen stood beside Elias in rare quiet. "You have changed the balance here," she said. "I just keep tripping over murder attempts," he replied. "Before you, my enemies believed the Veilani slow to react. Peaceful, predictable." She turned her gaze to him. "You are none of these things. Humans are very predictable," he said. "We panic early. You panic toward the threat," she said. "Not away," he shrugged. "If the threat is coming for someone next to you, running away just means it reaches them faster." She considered this for a long time. "Among my people, such thinking exists, but it is trained into a few. In you, it seems default." "Yeah," he said softly. "We're kind of built to watch each other's backs, even when we just met." Her eyes softened slightly. "Then perhaps it is fortunate for me that you stood in the wrong place on the right day." Elias smiled faintly. "Story of my life, Your Majesty." Below them, Concord Station turned slowly, lights glittering against the dark. Somewhere out there, powerful beings were recalculating their plans, because a species they had dismissed as small and new had attached one of its own, by accident and instinct, to the side of a queen. And that one human kept ruining everything for anyone who thought she would be easy prey. By the time the 4th cycle began, everyone on Concord Station knew the human's face. Some knew him as the one who had thrown himself over the Veilani Queen when debris fell. Others knew him as the one who smelled poison in the air before the alarms. Many had seen the security footage of him ripping open a bomb panel with bare hands while trained guards exchanged fire behind him. Elias Ward knew himself as very tired. He stood beside Queen Thalira on a raised platform in the Grand Assembly Hall once more. Repairs from the first attack were now invisible. New security fields shimmered faintly along the walls. Armed patrols stood at every entrance. from species that had once insisted they needed no protection. The hall was full again, but the mood had changed. Voices were quieter, eyes were sharper. At the center of the chamber, a circular field lit up. A captured attacker stood inside, restrained by a soft energy barrier. The armor had been removed. The being inside was lean, gray-skinned, with narrow eyes and a crest of short spines along the head. A representative of the Kresh Dominion stood opposite the field, flanked by legal aides. "This individual is not Kresh," the representative said coldly. "We do not claim them." The station's chief investigator displayed data in the air. Genetic markers confirm mixed heritage. However, equipment and funding trails lead through shell companies tied to Kresh military contractors. A murmur ran through the chamber. Elias shifted his weight slightly. "This is the part where everyone pretends to be shocked, right?" he whispered. The queen did not look at him, but her tail flicked once. "Observe," the investigator continued. "The attacks targeted Queen Thalira specifically. Structural sabotage, atmospheric poisoning, explosive ambush, all designed to appear as accidents until success was certain." "An act of war," said a Hadron delegate flatly. "An act of cowardice," said another. The Kresh representative's jaw plates clicked in agitation.
Unproven accusations. The queen stepped forward. The hall fell silent without being told to.
"I did not come here seeking conflict," she said, her voice calm but carrying to every corner. "The Velani have long chosen patience over conquest, trade over threat." Her eyes moved slowly across the gathered delegates. Yet 3 times in this place of peace, death reached for me.
She gestured slightly.
The central display shifted, showing footage from each attack: the falling light rig, the spreading gas cloud, the corridor ambush. Why? In every clip, a small human figure moved fast, always toward the danger. A low wave of sound moved through the hall as beings saw the full pattern together for the first time. The queen continued. "Each time, survival came not from ancient fleets or hidden weapons, but from the instincts of one young member of a species many of you consider weak." Elias stared very hard at a decorative plant across the room.
"This human did not know our customs," she said. "He did not know our value."
He did not calculate political outcome. He saw danger, and he acted. She turned slightly, looking at him now. Elias, Ward of Earth, stepped between death and a throne that was not his. Again and again, several Velani in the chamber shifted their glowing patterns in what Elias had learned was a sign of deep respect. A trade minister from a distant system spoke up. "Is this human a trained guardian?" Elias opened his mouth, but the queen answered first. "He was a logistics aide." A ripple of surprise spread.
He is unmodified," she added. "Unaugmented."
"He carries no military rank." "Then why?" asked the minister softly. "Does he behave like your most elite protectors?" The queen's gaze remained on Elias.
"Because this is how his species survives." Elias felt heat rise to his face. He wished very much to be anywhere else.
The investigator turned back to the political matter. "Given the evidence trail, formal sanctions against Kresh military interests are being proposed. Trade suspensions, border monitoring, joint security accords." One by one, delegates signaled agreement. The Kresh representative stood rigid, unable to stop the tide without open admission. Elias leaned slightly toward the queen.
"So we're not doing a giant space war, right? Not today," she said. "Good."
"I left my war in my other pants." She made that small, choked sound again that he was beginning to suspect was Velani laughter trying to escape. When the assembly ended, delegates did not rush away as before. Many approached the Velani platform instead. A tall avian ambassador bowed his feathered head to the queen. Then to Elias.
Your reflexes honor your people.
Thanks, Elias said. A heavy stone-skinned envoy rumbled.
Your kind bonds quickly. Yeah, Elias said. We're clingy. More beings came.
Some offered formal words. Some simply looked at him with new understanding. Humans, small and soft-looking, had been placed in the mental category of minor species. Easy to push, easy to overlook. Now the image included something else, a species that did not wait to be important before protecting others. Later, in a quieter chamber overlooking the stars, the Queen stood with her closest advisors. Elias waited near the door, hands clasped behind his back, trying to look official.
It is time,
one advisor said gently. The Queen nodded and turned to him.
Elias Ward.
He stepped forward.
Yes, Your Majesty?
You have served without oath, without rank, and without request, yet your actions have carried the weight of all three.
I mostly just reacted fast and complained loudly, he said.
Even so, she replied. An attendant brought forward a small band of woven metal and crystal, glowing faintly with Veilani patterns. In our tradition, the Queen said, a protector who binds themselves to the life of the crown is given a mark of place. A role that did not exist before is now required. Elias blinked. Required? You will be known as Crown Guardian under the human accord, she said. A living symbol of trust between our peoples. He looked at the band.
Then at her? Does this come with a training manual?
We will attempt to create one, she said. He held out his arm. The band settled around his wrist, adjusting to fit. It was warm, almost like it had a pulse.
There, the Queen said softly.
Now it is official.
Elias examined it. My mother is never going to believe this. I would like to meet the one who shaped you, the Queen said. She mostly shaped me by yelling, he replied. Very effective method.
Again, that almost laugh.
Outside the viewport, ships moved slowly between docking rings. Life on the station continued. Trade, debate, politics, all the complex threads of interstellar civilization. But now, whenever the Veilani Queen walked those halls, there was always a human within arm's reach. At the next public summit, whispers followed them. That is the human. The one who stopped the attacks. The one who guards the Queen.
Elias walked beside her with a compad in one hand and a cup of strong station coffee in the other. He still did not understand half of Veilani etiquette.
He still said the wrong things at the wrong times. He still missed his old, boring job. But his eyes never stopped moving. And every being watching understood a new truth that no treaty had ever written down. If you wanted to threaten the Veilani Queen now, you would have to get past ancient guards, advanced technology, and one stubborn human whose first instinct always was to step in front of the danger and figure out the consequences later.